الله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره. نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء. واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، خير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، كل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. One of the mashayikh mentioned there was an imam who used to be making fun of other people because they did not know the Quran, and he had memorized the Quran, and he was so mean about it. So one time he led the people in Salah and he made mistake in Al-Fatiha. So be aware. Alright. Tonight, inshallah, we'll talk about al-Dhaman and al-Kafala. Dhaman and al-Kafala. Dhaman, just for now, very quick, we'll translate it into guarantee or warranty. But it's not exactly what we're talking about. And al-Kafala as well. Dhaman and al-Kafala usually, or Ibn Qudama rahimahullah in this book combine them together in one bab, in one section. So we'll talk about the Dhaman, and usually the people and the ulama they can use the two words interchangeably, but when they talk about the Dhaman, they talk about guaranteeing monetary value, guaranteeing money. When they talk about kafala, it's what they call dhaman huduri or kafala huduriya, meaning guaranteeing a body. And we will inshallah explain what each one means when we get there. But we'll go over what the author rahimahullah talked. In the beginning we talk about الضمان. الضمان في اللغة مشتق من الضمن أو الانضمام أو التضمن. These three words. And the الضمن فلأن ذمة الضامن تتضمنها ذمة المضمون عنه، والانضمام لأن ذمة الضامن تنضم إلى ذمة المضمون عنه، والتضمن لأن ذمة الضامن تتضمن الحق. طيب. All these words are really irrelative without understanding the whole thing, but we mentioned this since the ulama mentioned them. قال ابن قدامة in another book في المغني ضم the definition الاصطلاح ضم ذمة الضامن إلى ذمة المضمون عنه في التزام الحق فيثبت في ذمتهما جميعا. Okay. ضم ذمة الضامن إلى ذمة المضمون عنه في التزام الحق فيثبت في ذمتهما جميعا. In other words, just to go over the definition, there are two people involved in the definition. الضامن, and that is the guarantor. والمضمون عنه is the borrower. If we're talking about loan here, مضمون عنه is the borrower, and usually if you go to borrow some money they ask for dhamin or a guarantor. In other words, they'll ask for someone, if you don't pay they'll pay, or he will pay. Okay, so Muhammad goes to borrow some money from Ahmed, so Ahmed tells him, bring me a guarantor. So Ahmed tells him, bring me a guarantor. So Muhammad goes and bring Ibrahim as a guarantor. So when it's time to pay, Ahmed goes to Muhammad to get his money. Muhammad says, I'm not paying you, or I don't have. So then Ahmed can go to Ibrahim. Ibrahim is al-Damin, the guarantor. Muhammad is the borrower. Ahmed is the lender. Ibrahim is al-Damin and Muhammad is al-Madmun an. يعني I guarantee for. I, Ibrahim, guarantee, I'm the guarantor, I guarantee for Muhammad either to pay his debt or I'll pay it for him. So he's Madmun an, meaning guaranteed for. So the borrower is guaranteed for, right? The one who will pay if the borrower doesn't pay is the guarantor. Okay? So when the author rahimahullah says in Mughni, ضم ذمة الضامن إلى ذمة المضمون, meaning the definition of الضمان, that the guarantee we're talking about, it means to combine the responsibility of the borrower or the responsibility of the guarantor to the responsibility of the borrower. So both become obligated to pay the debt. So when one doesn't pay, the other will pay. Alright? And we'll talk about little details. في التزام الحق فيثبت في ذمتهما جميعا. So once Ibrahim accepts the guarantee, once he accepts to be a guarantor or ضامن, يصبح ملزم. Okay, يصبح ملزم يعني he becomes obligated. And we'll talk about that part inshallah in a little bit. So الفرق بين الضمان والكفالة, the difference usually, and you find people interchangeably using both words for the same thing, but usually in what the ulama distinguish between ضمان has to do with money. So I guarantee money, I guarantee to get you back money. Kafala, I guarantee for you to get you the person. So in other words, maybe the closest word that I was able to think of, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the idea of bond. That is kafala. The one who does the bonding is the one who's responsible to bring the person when it's time for, let's say, court. Alright? So that is daman, is guarantee, and kafala is bond, if we can do that. So daman يسمى كفالة غرامية because it has to do with money, and الكفالة تسمى كفالة حضورية because it has to do with the person. Alright. So now we understand the meaning of الضمان. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى الدليل من القرآن, يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى ولمن جاء به حمل بعير وأنا به زعيم. Okay? When Yusuf alayhi salam, when his brothers went to Egypt to get some food, Yusuf alayhi salam asked them about their brother, youngest brother. So then at the end he told them, whoever brings him, I'll give him extra food. And I'll زعيم يعني ضامن, وأنا به زعيم يعني I guarantee. So if they, let's say the government will not give you extra food, I will make sure you get it, even if I will give it to you. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الزعيم ضامن. So معنى زعيم يعني ضامن, يعني I guarantee. Alright? I guarantee for it. ويقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الزعيم غارم يعني ضامن. حديث صحيح. الضمان من عقود الإرفاق والإحسان. That to be a guarantor, to accept to be a guarantor, is one of that kind of contracts. It's a contract or transaction that is intended behind, the intention behind it is to make it easy for people. The intention behind it is good. Irfaq and ihsan, making it easy for people. Someone needs to borrow money. The other person who might lend him the money wants a guarantor to make sure he gets his money. So they go to a third person. Can you be a guarantor? He said, yes, I can. So this is for the sake of making it easy for people, for the sake of getting people out of hardships. Most probably when a person borrows money, it's because he's in a hardship. Okay? Some people are not. But Some people, when they borrow money, because they're in hardships or they need the money, so to find a guarantor, and Islam make this permissible, is to make it easy for people. So the intent behind this kind of transaction or contract is doing good. As a result, you cannot get paid for it. So if you are a guarantor, you cannot get paid for it, which is like qard, loans. If you lend someone money, you cannot get something in return. That will be called riba. Okay? What else we talked about last time? The same thing. Hiwala. Okay? Money transfer. That is also the same thing. So you cannot get paid for it just because you're a guarantor. In other words, if Muhammad approaches you and tells you, listen, I need to borrow $1,000 from so and so, and he's asking for a guarantor, can you be my guarantor? So you say, I will be if you give me $100. Is that permissible? That is riba. Now where is riba comes in? Because usually dhamin, as if he had lent you money. How? If I'm a guarantor for Ibrahim, and it's time for Ibrahim to pay his debt, and Ibrahim doesn't pay. So now I'm the person who's responsible to pay it, right? So once I pay that loan, let's say $1,000, I become in a position that I have lent Ibrahim the $1,000. So now I go back to Ibrahim to ask for my money. So if I have charged him $100, then instead of getting 1,000 in return, I'm getting 1,100. And كل قرض جر منفعة فهو ربا. And every kind of loan that brings benefit in return, it's riba. So that is where the riba comes in. So in other words, the contract of a dhaman, the intent behind it is to make it easy, to help people, all right, for good purpose, good reason, all right. So if you get paid for that, that is haram. Now, dhaman usually issued by banks. Usually, banks will issue dhaman, and we'll talk about some of those transactions, contemporary transactions. And there is no bank will do this for the sake of Allah. All right? So when they issue these things, of course they're going to charge you fees and all that, and all the money, as you know. Sometimes الضمان مغطى and sometimes غير مغطى. يعني they will guarantee, or they will be a guarantor for you for X amount of money, but at the same time you have that amount of money in your bank account in that bank. And sometimes غير مغطى, يعني you don't have that money. You're just a client with them, you don't have that much, so they will cover you for the dhaman, for the amount. Either way, as the ulama al-majma' al-fiqhi agreed that it's haram. If they're getting paid or they charge you more than the expenses that issuing such contract cost them. And we talked about that. We're talking about service fees and employees and paperwork and faxes if it's needed and computers and all that. If they really can calculate that, and that is the fee they charge you or close to it, then it's okay. But if they charge you more than that, or they have an amount, certain amount, or based on the amount that you want them to guarantee you for, and then that is what determine the amount they're going to charge you, then that is not permissible. Alright? So in other words, to guarantee someone or to be a guarantor for someone for a return is haram over what it really costs you. For a return that over what it will really cost you, it's haram. For example, someone wants you to be a guarantor, so you tell him, okay, I'll be, and he's coming from another state. For him to come just for that, for the contract and to sign, that will cost him money. There is no harm for you to compensate him for that. It costed him for. Alright? Stuff like that. However, if he tells you, listen, I'll guarantee you in $1 million, but 5%. That's what I charge. And that is where it becomes haram, because it's عقد إرفاق وإحسان. Just the point behind it is to do good. Now question is, the person the borrower, time comes to pay, and the borrower cannot pay. The lender goes to the borrower, okay, give me my money. I don't have money. Or maybe he doesn't want to pay. Is it the right of the lender to go to that guarantor to ask for that money? Or it's not? That is the point. Exactly. That is why it's يعني شرعت. That's why it's allowed. For this main purpose. Okay? For this main purpose. Now, the question, can the lender goes and ask his money even though the borrower can pay? Can he go and ask for his money from the guarantor? Even though he knows that the borrower can pay. And if he would go to him, he'll pay. Can he go to the lender, to the guarantor, straight? He say, you know what? I don't want to bother with this borrower. Maybe 2 days he's away, he's going to come back in 2 days. Let me go straight to that. Okay? Or I know he might give me a hard time, or it's difficult to find him. Whatever reason. But he knows if he goes to him, he will pay him.
You should try first.
Okay? So, can he? خلاف بين أهل العلم. Two different opinions. The first opinion, and that is the opinion of the majority of the ulama and jumhur, that yes, he can. He can go straight to the guarantor and pay him. Okay? And ask him for his money. He can go straight and ask for money, because in their opinion, that once there is a guarantor, then they're both equally responsible. Guarantor and borrower. Okay? Guarantor and borrower. The other opinion of some of the ulama of al-Hanabila, no. If he knows, if the lender knows that the borrower can pay, then there is no reason to go straight to the guarantor, because the guarantor is there in case the borrower doesn't pay. But for you to assume you don't want to bother with him and just go straight to the guarantor, that is where they said no. Let's see what Ibn Qudama رحمه الله said. يقول المصنف رحمه الله: وإن ضمنه عنه ضامن لم يبرأ وصار الدين عليهما ولصاحبه مطالبة من شاء منهما فإن استوفى من المضمون عنه أو أبرأه برأ ضامنه. جزاك الله خير. So Ibn Qudama, what he's saying is he saying you can only go to the borrower, or you can go to either one equally? That is what the opinion of Ibn Qudama and one of the ulama of al-Hanabila, and that is the opinion of al-Jumhur. And the dalil of al-Jumhur قالوا الزعيم ضامن. Okay, the one who guarantees is the one who is responsible. Alright, so in other words, they're both equally responsible to pay that loan. So that's why the borrower, the lender, can go to either one, and he can skip the borrower and go straight to the lender. The other opinion said no. Okay, it's no. And some of the Malikiyya, actually that is the opinion of the Malikiyya, they said no. If the lender knows well that the borrower can pay, then he has no right to go to the guarantor. He has no right to go to the guarantor, because the guarantor there, Dhamin, is a backup. He's put into this contract as a backup. So you cannot just go straight to him. So you go to al-asl. Al-asl is the borrower. Okay? It's like making wudu. If you have water and you have dirt, you cannot go to the dirt and leave the water, because water is al-asl. Water is the default, is the asl, the original thing, or the default for wudu is water. So you cannot leave water when it's available and go to turab or dirt to make tayammum. Alright? And the same thing here. Al-asl, the one who borrowed the money, the basic person in this transaction is the borrower. He's al-asl. You cannot leave al-asl to al-far'. You cannot leave al-asl and go to ahad al-furu' or far'. And far' or the branch is the guarantor. Got it? And Allahu A'lam, this is the right opinion. This is the right opinion. And there are many reasons. If you think about it, it can be, if we say then both equally, then in other words what you're saying, you're allowing some kind of ihtiyal. Meaning, someone agrees with another person, listen, you're gonna supposedly lend me some money, and I'm gonna ask this brother, he looks nice, he looks cool, he might accept to be a guarantor. And then when it's time to pay, I won't pay, so you go to him. Alright? So stuff like that, it's a way of stealing, a way of fooling people. It can open doors that they don't close. So we say that if the borrower, because the borrower is the one who benefited from the money that he borrowed. So why are you going to go straight to the guarantor when the borrower can pay back his money? Alright? So that is the case, and that is the right opinion, that is, if the borrower can pay, then the lender has no right to go straight to the guarantor to ask for his money. He should go first to the borrower, and after he makes sure that he tried his best, that is when he turned to the guarantor. قال ابن القيم رحمه الله إن الناس يستقبحون مطالبة الضامن مع وجود المدين، ويعتبرون أن مطالبة الضامن مع وجود المضمون عنه وقدرته على السداد يعدون فاعله متعديا ولا يعذرونه بالمطالبة إلا إذا تعذر عليه مطالبة الأصيل. قال: وهذا أمر مستقر في فطر الناس ومعاملاتهم، بحيث لو طالب الدائن الضامن والمضمون عنه إلى جانبه والدراهم في كمه وهو متمكن من مطالبته لاستقبحوه غاية الاستقباح. He's saying, just in summary, it's natural for people to reject the idea that you go to ask someone who guarantee or the guarantor, and on your side is the borrower and he has the money in his pocket, and yet you go and ask the guarantor. This is something rejected, and the fitra will not accept. Okay? Why? When I tried to do good, I tried my best, I just wanted to help you, and now this is how you turn around, this is how you do. Alright? So it's on both sides, the borrower and the lender. It's not paying back or appreciating what the guarantor had done for both of them. Alright? So that is something rejected, and that is the opinion of al-Malikiyya Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah. Alright, another مسألة. إذا مات الضامن. Okay, what happens if the guarantor dies? If the guarantor dies, do we say the dhaman or the guarantee is null and doesn't exist anymore? Do we say that whatever he leaves behind, his inheritance, the borrower or the lender has the right to get that from the inheritance of the guarantor? Do we say other things? Alright? Naam? What do you think?
Second one.
The second? Naam. Dhamin, the guarantor. But he never borrowed any money. The fact he accepted this responsibility, then that dhaman will transfer to his inheritance. Okay, will transfer into tarikah. Whatever he leaves behind, the lender can come to the heirs or to the people inheriting the person who was guarantor and died and ask for his money. All right?
Just if the borrower doesn't pay.
Of course, that is assuming the borrower did not fulfill his responsibility, because we already established that point. The lender has no right to go to the heirs or to the guarantor himself or people who inherit him if the borrower can pay. Okay? He goes to them after he tried his best. Another issue and another advice is, if you know from yourself, okay, if you know from yourself that you cannot pay if you accept to be a guarantor or a dhamin, and you know the amount you'll never have, then you should not accept. Even though it's a good cause, but the advice is don't accept it. Someone comes and tells you, I want you to be my dhamin or guarantor for, I'm borrowing $100,000. Okay? You know that you will never have $100,000. Okay? It's just sometimes it's the only way you can jump from no money to $100,000, most probably in a haram way. Or you find kens. Or you find treasure. Earth? These days even earth is not distributed fairly. People don't distribute, even between brothers and sisters. These days you find a lot of Muslims, when the father dies, the male take everything, the males. And they say, why are we going to give the money to a strange man? They're talking about their brother-in-law. It's not to their sister, to the strange man. He didn't work hard, he didn't do anything for this. At the same time, you find them never worked for it. It was the father who did everything, right? That is reality. That is a fact. So the point is, if you know that you're not capable, if you were to be asked, so when someone comes to ask you to be a guarantor, sometimes people want to show manners, and they want to show goodwill, and they want to show that they're nice, and someone approached me, I cannot turn him down, and he put himself in haisbais, in trouble. Ask yourself, if it happens, okay, if it happens that this person comes and asks me for money, can I pay it? Because you have to know that once you accept this contract, you're responsible. Can I pay it? If the answer, most probably not, don't accept it. Don't accept it, and explain. And if he doesn't want to take your excuses, then don't worry about it. You're not the one who's borrowing, it's him. And he's not the one who's going to be in trouble. It's you. Because at the end of the day, he's the one who used the money. You know? So it's very important that you look at, because when time comes around and you are required or requested to pay and you can't pay, he can throw you in jail. He can take your house, can put a lien on your property, whatever the situation is. And that will create animosity and hate and division. لا يعلمه إلا الله. That will create too much problems, too many problems, too much tension. So avoid it. You cannot be a guarantor, let him go and ask someone else, or maybe he should rethink borrowing his money. And they said, مثل يعني كفالة أولها شهامة وآخرها ندامة. They said guarantee, in the beginning it's a goodwill, like I'm for it, you ask the right man, and at the end is regret. Okay, at the end usually regret when you can't pay. All right, let's talk about some of the contemporary transactions related to this topic, and one of them what they call khitab al-dhaman. Khitab al-dhaman. In English, the letter of guarantee. The letter of guarantee usually issued by a bank. Okay, usually issued by a bank. And the way it works is, let's say that the government wants to build a park. So they will put the المشروع or the plans or the idea out there, and whoever contractor is interested in bidding on this contract will put his bid. Now, sometimes these مشاريع or these projects, if they are delayed, they cost a lot of money, because the government or the park is an example, but it can be many other things. So they want someone first who's capable of doing it, not just someone bids, okay? And second, they want someone that they can feel comfortable when they make their decision. And they want someone who's serious. Okay? They cannot just, okay, I bid, and they go through the process, you won, you know what, I changed my mind. They want someone serious. So what they do is they put a clause that you will be fined if you win the bid and then you don't do it. You will be fined. How they guarantee that money? They require a letter of guarantee. Okay? In other words, you are a contractor and they have project for a park, going back to the park, and you bid and there are 10 other people bid. One of the requirements, get us a letter of guarantee. Meaning that if you decide, after you win the bid, you decide to back off, then we're going to fine you $100,000, for example. All right? So he goes to the bank, and the bank will, if he's a good client, he has good credit, whatever the situation is, the bank will issue this letter for him. Meaning, if he wins the bid and doesn't go through it, the government will get money from who? From the bank. Bank is al-Dhamin, is the guarantor. Okay? So that is the letter of guarantee. Now, our concern is issuing this letter. Okay? Usually when this client goes to the bank, or this contractor or this company who want to win the bid, they go to the bank and they want the letter, so the bank will give it to them. Okay? Now, since the bank is the guarantor, and we said since this kind of contract is a contract of doing well and doing good, doing people good, then the only money they can charge him is their fees and their expenses. No, their fees, they have fees, but it's this fee or these fees have to be equal or close to what really cost them to issue this letter. But if they tell him, all right, your letter of guarantee is for $1 million, our fee is 1%. That is haram. Okay? But our fees for paperwork and issuing this letter and the guy who's going to work on it and this and that will cost roughly $200, $300, $1,000. If that is the reality, then that is okay. All right? Very important. Now, what kind of aqd or what kind of contract is aqd al-dhaman? Remember, if you recall, that we divided these contracts into 3 types. Actually 2 types, and sometimes fall in between. Sometimes we call them uqud lazima, and sometimes uqud جائزة. Okay? لا مش جائزة مش recommended. جائزة and عقود لازمة. Who knows the difference?
I think I remember.
Lazima, if you're put in a situation where you have to abide by that commitment, then as a Muslim you have to do it.
That is which one?
Lazim.
طيب.
And Jaiza is you can walk away from it. If you don't want to do it, there's no ithm on it.
جائزة? There is ithm?
No.
Alright. He's right. عقود لازمة, mandatory contracts, meaning once you're involved, you cannot pull out and say, you know, I changed my mind after you accept. Some of the عقود اللازمة, بيع.
Yes.
Yes? At what point?
As soon as you agree to the terms, you can,
لا.
as long as you...
قبل التفرق.
قبل الانصراف.
صح. مين اللي حكى كده؟ نعم. في البيوع, before, if they are separated from the place where they did the sales, then it's lazim. Okay? As long as you're still talking and you're still together, you can change your mind. But once I sell you something and you leave the room and you're done, you're gone, that is done. That is aqd lazim. That means I'm obligated to follow through. Alright? Another aqd is al-ijar, rent, the same thing. Okay? Aqd al-dhaman, lazim. Also, this dhaman or guarantee is also, once you accept to be a guarantor, you cannot come tomorrow and say, I changed my mind. No, because the borrower already got his money. Okay? That's it. Unless you are freed from the lender, then you cannot get out of it. Unless the borrower paid his money, you cannot get out of it. So once you accept this contract, you have to follow through. You cannot change your mind after the